Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting. We are back with another special episode, a special bonus pod. This one is a little long. But it is a bonus pod. Following PulseCon, much like we had the opportunity to sit down with the Marvel Legends team over at Hasbro, we also had the opportunity to sit down with Lenny and Emily over at Hasbro on the G.I. Joe team. Now, for this special bonus pod, both Dave and myself were not able to attend the call, but thankfully, best friend of the pod and voice you have heard countless times on these episodes, Dave P., a.k.a. Other Dave, at CreepyNJ on Instagram, stepped up to the plate and sat down with the G.I. Joe team and did us proud, representing Adventures in Collecting. So what you're about to hear is about 90 minutes of talking G.I. Joes. Along with Dave, representing Adventures in Collecting, you're going to hear from Carson over at 3D Joe's, Jeremy at Bleeding Cool, Scott from Toy Wizards, Brett from Graphic Policy, and you're going to hear from Chris at the Full Force podcast. So it was a great crew at the Roundtable here, and I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to cut to the Roundtable. Enjoy. Yo, Joe.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle. G.I.
Joe! So actually I handed over to Carson and Samson to throw out the first couple questions.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So you guys are talking to the low-hanging fruit here. We are the easily converted. We are the type that, when you guys made your big announcements about HasLab, through the roof excitement. Seriously, I'm already really enjoying Classified, buying 2 of everything. Very happy about that. But, we've been begging for O-Ring just because we're stuck on nostalgia and vintage. Enjoying everything you guys are doing currently, but we've been begging you for O-Ring. And you made the huge announcement. So first off, cheers. Thank you for that. Very excited about it. I obviously, I went in and backed up to 5 because that was the max that y'all capped it out at. And wow. I have no problem doing that because I want you guys to be successful in that arena, both in HasLab and with O-Ring. My question is, how can we more effectively convert some of the other fans that are the more hard sell, that see the price point of $230? And Chris McLeod and I did a Full Force episode on this week. So if you want to hear my whole rationalization for it, I can actually rationalize the $230 pretty well. And I think it's a decent value for all the different items that we're getting with it. That said, I think some of the other fan base is a little harder to convert. And so I think the case could be made by you guys, and we could win over more of those fans if we could clearly demonstrate, number one, I'll just rattle off a couple questions. Number one, is this an all-new mold, or is this a repurposed, retooled mold based off of the Sky Striker that we've gotten over the last decade? 100%. That would be the first question I'd start with.
So it is all new tooling. This is just for the HasLab. It is beautiful. Lenny and Chris have been working so hard on this, and it looks so nice. We will actually, over the next couple of weeks, be doing some comparison photo shoots. So with the original 1983 Sky Striker next to the HasLab model, you'll be able to see from a size perspective, super similar. So this will be, the only physical version of our HasLab that we have right now is the gray model. So it will be final 1983 Sky Striker with, all the decoration and everything next to a gray model of the HasLab Sky Striker. But you'll be able to see the similarities, but you'll also be able to see the extra detail and the extra love that went into the HasLab.
Yeah, so what we did was we bought an old school one because our coffers, we cannot dive into our coffers because we try to keep everything pristine in our vaults. Mm-hmm. So we bought a couple of Sky Strikers, ripped them apart, put them back together, and then redesigned it. And then we designed it with intention of, we know nostalgia is very strong, so we needed to keep the nostalgia level. So we were coming up with a percentage of how much we were changing. So if I could have went in there and completely changed it, that would have been a cardinal sin, I feel like. So we're like, we can update this 10 to 15%. So what are we going to do? Like, we added an actual cockpit inside. We buttressed the wings a little bit more so they feel a little more aerodynamic. We went in and like the flight dampeners in the back actually moved. We lined up the Gatling guns on the side because they never lined up back in the day. So like, that's to name a few of the things. And like, Chris is a crazy jet nut. Like, I didn't realize this until we started the project. And I was like, oh man. So we went in and we had a lot of details and stuff like that. And I think if you think cost wise, I think there's $100 worth of figures after all the unlocks.
No, it's there's 6 figures, and on Pulse the 2 packs are $39.99, so it's $20 per figure. So that makes it $120 worth of O-ring figures, not including. I mean, now you're getting the stand, which is so cool.
Yeah, stand's crazy. So that's something we did.
And the vehicles.
Yeah, I think I was trying to articulate it, but the stand is kind of nuts. So we went in on this item to be long-winded about it, but it was like a really interesting, delicate balance because it's like, what do we not touch? But we know we need to give people a new item. So it was actually extremely difficult to work on this item. It's like, you're starting from somewhere, but what do you deviate from? But what don't you deviate from? And that's where actually we worked with Grumman. So it's actually a licensed jet. Yeah. We were making it's the F-14 Tomcat. Right. But they were great to work with too, because they're like, look, we know you're making a toy, and it's a jet we made 40 years ago, right? They're like, we're not worried about anybody getting the plans to it, which is actually awesome. It was really cool to talk to the old brass dudes. Nice. But it was really interesting. But yeah, I'm being long-winded about it, but it's brand new. We updated it. We tried to be humble and holy about it.
Well, so that's one of the things that Chris and I talked about. An opportunity for conversion on some of these holdouts would be comparative shots, A versus B comparisons to show all the upgrades. I'm hoping there's a little bit of length and width, changes there. I know that the cockpit certainly has to be larger to have full size 2 seats and controls and all that stuff. And so I think once you start showing some of those A/B comparisons, people will realize, okay, I can sell some of my other Sky Strikers. This is going to be the ultimate one. If they need to raise money to afford it in their own minds, like sell some toys to buy some toys, this one's going to be bigger and better in every way. We just need to make that case to them and prove that to them, I think, for some of the holdouts. Okay, so second question. I am hopeful and optimistic that the O-ring stuff will go well for you guys, and we'll get to see a lot more of that. I think one of the things that is sacred, a couple of the sacred cows to the vintage stuff that I hope you guys can incorporate into your packaging going forward for O-ring stuff. I love classified. I've already said this. I'm buying all of it, but I miss the cross-sell. And I miss the file cards. And I love the icon stuff. I'm not saying throw away the icon stuff, but I miss the file cards and I miss the cross-sell packaging, even if it's just an insert or something. But the cross-sell grid on the back of the carded figures was timeless, and the file cards that got us into the personality of each card, of each figure was integral to the experience. You guys are doing a great job with the artwork, but now we're missing the story, right? So my question is, knowing that you're trying to sell these and you're making multi-country packaging. So I realize you got the legal, you got to get in each language. Is it possible that you put QR codes in there that they could shoot? Like, you'd have the legalese in each language. You'd have the fully fleshed out file card, maybe in English. Don't want to be ethnocentric or anything, but maybe you have the file card in English and then you have QR codes for the full file card in Spanish and French and everything else.
And I think that that's a good idea. We're trying so many different things at Hasbro to figure out how to be more inclusive. I mean, we are a global company. Sure. We want to make sure that anybody who is picking up these toys at their local toy store is able to, get a good idea of what the toy is and what it means. I don't know if you've ever been in another country at like a grocery store and trying to decode what is in I have celiac and trying to figure out, like, does this pasta in Greece have gluten in it is a really fun challenge. But I think that there's lots of things that we can try. To us, the file cards and that cross-sell that you love, I think that you'll be pleased with the cross-sell situation that will be appearing on the retro card. And to us, the file cards are storytelling, and we love, I mentioned it at PulseCon a couple of times, but we love the storytelling aspect. And so we are trying to figure out ways to really bring the storytelling aspect to the line. So that may take, we're not entirely sure how that may look in the future, but we promise that it's something that we're working on.
Yeah, and it goes across brands too. You guys know my other life on Transformers. We were trying to figure that out too. Well, because it's such like the grid for like power levels and stuff like that. It's like, you got to do it. Like, because it's part of the storytelling. And I think, in a way, I'm trying to say this in a corporate way, it makes us rely on entertainment less because we can rely on the brand itself and the strength and actually add new characters in, and characters that were never done in form factors if we are able to get those file cards in, right? Because it's like for a kid and a collector, when you're going in at purchase and you're looking at it. I remember when I was a kid, I wouldn't read it. My parents would help me read it too. But I'd look at the back and I would, even if I didn't see the character in the cartoon, I didn't care. If it was awesome and the file card kind of lined up with what I like, I'd buy it. So we're actually losing sales by not doing it. So we're trying to figure out, how do you do it for this new, we live in a completely different environment than 1980. What,
of course.
When I was buying them, right? So we little kids. So no, we're working on it.
Yeah.
Cool. The precedent has been set in prior G.I. Joe product where you guys did include multilingual file cards inside the packaging. So if you could make the case that, there's a QR code for each of the different languages that you need to be inclusive of, but the full file card is also printed inside, so they're not left out of having a printed product. That was done before, is done extensively in Europe in the 90s. And it was actually done here a little bit as well. I think for the 25th anniversary or the 50th anniversary, they had multilingual file cards tucked into the packages. So I think I've exhausted my 2 questions.
Thanks, Carson. We appreciate it. I'll hand it over to Dave with Adventures in Collecting.
Hey, how's everyone doing today?
Hi.
So all the excitement around PulseCon, an incredible showing. You reintroduced the world to 3 3/4 O-ring Joes. We were just wondering, what are we going to see out of the current retro line? Is it going to be retired?
So we love the mono retro line, and we think that it is amazing. So currently we're really excited, as you mentioned, to be bringing back the 3 3/4 inch O-ring scale. So that will be our focus for a little while. So consider the modern expression kind of on hold. We know that it is a beloved part of the G.I. Joe line, but we are going to be focusing for at least a little while on really bringing back that amazing O-ring scale from the 80s.
Yeah, especially with seeing the reaction too. It's like, you gotta, your audience and you do your research on your audience, but when you get reactions from your audience, like it's going to adjust your design. And what is the problem we have to solve? The problem we have to solve is getting more vintage figures to everybody, right? Getting more retro old school figures. So it's like, there's other things we have to do that. So trying to say corporately, but
more figures on the shelf, more to love, more for the fan. So it's great.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I know it was really interesting listening to the engineering side, talking about the HasLab, but with the O-ring Joes, it's been mentioned that they are going to have new rings and arm pieces. Can you tell us what went into the engineering of these new pieces while trying to stay true to the origins?
So it's interesting. If you ask me, I think O-ring figures are kind of like perfect figures, but they have one flaw. They degenerate over time.
But don't we all?
Yeah, that's right. So working with Chris on that, we were looking at materials. So the original figures are made out of complete ABS, maybe an ABS blend. What we ended up doing was figures are basically PVC figures now, and that's what a 6-inch figure is made out of. So no more broken thumbs, no more broken pelvises. And then the inner O-ring, I've been pulling on them. Like I can pull them like this far. I imagine they will snap if you like go crazy with it. But we've designed them so that the material itself is different, but the actual design is the same, which is interesting because a lot of it starts at a scan. So like we've been scouring and trying to get everything we can, and then we scan it, and then we go back into it. So after it's scanned, it is 1-for-1 with the 40-year-old scanned item. So we have to go in and actually adjust it. And there were some things done 40 years ago that it's like a designer. It's like, oh yeah, this is a military helmet, which they did an awesome job at. And I knew a lot of these guys were working on that stuff, but at the same time, it's like production timing, reasons for getting it done, draftability, all that sort of thing. So we actually did go in. You will notice little minor things, like in particular. Oh, I can't mention that character. In particular, on Storm, there's some things with the balaclava that when it came in with the scan, it was just like, what is going on? What did they do here? Did this happen on purpose? Which it could have been a mistake with actually the panographing of the 2-up tools into the skull, into the mold. So what we ended up doing is like cleaning things up, making things like not so messy but making sure that it is pretty darn close to what it was, if not 98.8% close to what it originally was. I think the biggest difference is they see Vietnam on the back now instead.
And their thumbs won't break.
And it's interesting. So Chris was busting my horns on the hands because like we got to make the hands exactly the same. But we all know when you put the weapons in their hands with the what's it called, the sword grip that they would put on all the weapons, they kind of like shift a little bit. So that's actually something that you're going to see probably progress through the line as we develop. We're trying to hone that in so that we don't have like you're holding an Uzi and it's like sticking that way or falling out. So I will say that's where the 98% comes in, where we're trying to adjust some things so that functionality wise, they're better than they ever were, right? And then at the same time, there's a delineation between what was done 40 years ago and now, because 40 years ago, they did an amazing job. We don't want to, completely kind of like wash over what was done. So it is slightly different, but it's done in a reverence of what was done, but done what we can do today, essentially.
Awesome. And the figures look really great. I have them sitting like little friends on my computer monitor at my office. So right on track with how my toy shelf is done.
It's funny, the nostalgia feel we got when we got the first EPs in. And we get EPs coming in like crazy colors and stuff. Actually, these came in like white and black, but usually we get like pink. I was kind of hoping they'd come in. But like when you get them in hand, man, like
they're great.
So good.
I haven't had them in forever. I would because we moved from I'm going into the details. We moved from Brooklyn to Staten Island, then to Jersey. I lost them in a bunch of moves. So when I got Snake Eyes in hand, I like lost it. I was like, oh my God, I haven't had it so long. And I had got mine secondhand from family members and stuff. So like having it like, sorry, I'm going on a nostalgia boom. I apologize. You guys have questions to ask.
Yeah, I know so many people that were introduced to the idea of kit bashing from being able to kind of wiggle their way in, pop them apart, pop pieces together, and looking at the figure custom community now and where things have grown to. It all started with O-Ring Joes. So
I'm a designer. I mean, like pull these things apart, put them back together. Like, have fun.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I think that's my two.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I'll hand it over to Chris with Full Force.
Hi, Lenny. Nice to see you again, and lovely to meet you, Emily, in this weird face-to-face but not face-to-face way. As you can probably tell, I'm from the UK, so I'm going to lead with that. The panel over PulseCon was just absolutely superb. Like, I was blown away, in actual fact, by the amount of stuff that you guys were kind of throwing at us. Like, I was like, calm down. I've got to share this, for goodness sake. It was amazing. One of the things, obviously, that stood out to me was the Euro exclusive homage that you threw in with the very first Tiger Force figure, which, like, for one thing, I love Tiger Force anyway. See?
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That's your
but to get a Euro exclusive so early on, I was like, who's in charge there? What is Lenny doing? The crazy guy. No, in all seriousness, great idea. He's one of the most... Yeah, he is. Outback is one of the most iconic, but still blown away. Have you guys considered doing that more? Like, kind of like taking in the kind of foreign homage? Are you looking at doing that in the future with Classified? Like, not just with Outback, who is hugely iconic, but with any other characters going forward?
And I say yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that there's the really fun thing about Classified series is that there are so many different stories for us to explore. And we have these beautiful, iconic characters, and there are so many different versions of them that have existed in the G.I. Joe lore, whether that's in toys, in the cartoons, in the comics, and that we get the privilege of being able to kind of draw them all in and draw that influence in. And with Lenny's magical creative design abilities, really being able to bring those to life in premium 6-inch figures is, I think, really cool. And one of the things that makes Classified really exciting in that, we're not necessarily beholden to just doing current entertainment.
Yeah.
We get to pull from years and years of history and really being able to explore that. And I think that the sub-teams are a great example of that with, Tiger Force and Python Patrol and Cobra Island. And, who knows, maybe some more things that may be coming down the pipeline in the future.
Yeah. And I think
could you just list them out, Emily? Could you just list them out?
Sure. So I'll just list all of the sub-teams that exist, and then we'll just let you pick.
Yeah. And then send the images and I'll share them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds ideal. Yes.
It's kind of part of why we didn't do the first 12 up front.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I felt like, we could have did the first 12, and that's the G.I. Joe classified line. But we looked at it and we're like, G.I. Joe has been reiterated every time it comes back out into a different scale. I mentioned this like when we first were releasing it, and it's like it would be a disservice to the brand to do it verbatim as to the 1982 line, because it's not what the brand is about.
Yeah.
It is a fashion brand. If you look at G.I. Joe throughout the years, it is reflective of the environment, social, whatever that it is in. So you have to design it towards that. However, you do have to be reverent to the awesomeness that it was. So that's where we found the balance, I think.
And I feel like G.I. Joe has done a really good job of not necessarily staying exactly the same, so that you have that evolution so that it remains current. There's elements of that. And I think that the modernization of the classified figures also really speaks to that.
Yeah.
Because there are more modern elements that are in play with like the 1980s retro feel.
Yeah. And that's why you'll see characters like the international version, Tiger Force, Outback, in which he had a completely different name. But like we looked at in our research, it's like, what are characters that are buzzworthy, right? That's why we have the Destro that we did. He was a buzzworthy character. So it's like we want to make it a fun line too. We could do verbatim stuff, but there's a level of like, that's how you update things from a design and style standpoint. Like there's a level of fashion design. And if you think about Tiger Force, he kind of screams Tiger Force too.
He's the brand fan, isn't he? With the T-shirt with the logo on it. Yeah.
It's weird. It's like Warden always says it this way. He's like, Lenny, go do your beautiful mind, crazy, like, like magic stuff, like put everything in the cauldron and see what comes out. Mm-hmm. And it's like, there is a practicality in business to it, but then that's where the art of design comes in, when you're like kind of paying attention to the zeitgeist of the community and potential new fans, because we want new fans too, right? So it's like, I think that character kind of resonates a little bit. So.
And it lets us do things like put a 12-inch crocodile into the line, like.
Can I add a question here, Emily?
Go for it.
During PulseCon, and I was, for one, I think it was brilliant. Before I say anything, I thought it was amazing. But it appeared as though you made a little mistake when you guys were talking about like what your favorite reveals were or whatever. And you mentioned Fiona before having seen Crocmaster. And then everyone's kind of like, we haven't revealed that yet. And then beautifully timed, out comes Crocmaster. Now, was that scripted and you were just really good at doing this stuff? Or was that a genuine mistake?
Well, isn't that part of the mystery of I respect you too much, Slidey. It was scripted. Yeah, it was.
Oh, in that case, I'll say that is absolutely brilliant then, because you absolutely nailed that to perfection. Well done.
Good acting. Good acting.
We were in rehearsal, and it was an accident the first time it happened. And we're like, oh no, that was kind of funny. Like, we should do that for real in the show.
I think our nervousness, because we rehearsed like 4 times, but I think the nervousness of it, like, we don't have a script on Joe. We just have like, these are the points I got to tell you. So it's like remind bullet points, and then we just kind of go because we feel it's more genuine that way. But I think in our nervousness, we're like, just stick to that. And it was kind of fun. And those go with it, kind of thing. So,
it worked
I think
out
if we went off, it would have thrown us off pace.
I will say it came across really well. Like, I think out of all the brand, nothing to take away from any of the other brands or any of the presentations, but you guys are so slick, and so it kind of shows on screen really. So shout out to both of you, and Corey and Chris as well. You did a great job.
It was a lot of fun. I was on the Power Rangers team for the last year and got to kind of cut my teeth on doing Fan First Fridays, but this was really like the first time that I'd been in a studio doing it like live from the studio with other people. We didn't have to deal with like filming delays. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it is also a little nerve-wracking. I mean, I went to school product design, not talk on.
And yet here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Love Fiona. Yeah. And thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. Handing it next to Jeremy with Bleeding Cool.
Hey, guys.
Hey, man.
Hi.
I'd like to echo his sentiments and say congratulations on a really awesome panel at PulseCon. I almost said HasCon. Sorry, PulseCon. And my first question would be about Tiger Force and Python Patrol. I've been really enjoying the character selection and designs in the Cobra Island figures. Was it always in the cards to switch from Cobra Island to other sublines in the classified series after a certain period of time? Or were you just like, okay, we've kind of run its course on Cobra Island, let's switch to this and make it more exciting again? Maybe get that fervor kicked back up.
From the start, I actually wanted to Tiger Force out of the first year. Okay. But I think that we, based on strategic needs and stuff like that, we're like, no, let's do something a little different. And the line grew exponentially. Like as it started turning on, we had different needs that we had to fulfill. But if for me, I think we should change it. Not maybe depending on where it is and where it lands strategically, business wise. Maybe one exclusive partner will have something different every year. One will have something for 2 years. I think it depends on the need of the business. Like I think Cobra Island and Python Patrol, there are particular characters we need to get to. So perhaps it could last a little longer. Other programs, maybe they can be in and out.
Some of the sub teams were smaller, so it would make sense to be able to have that flexibility. And from a storytelling perspective, it's so cool to be able to take the characters to different locations and have I love the different vibes that each of the sub teams have. And I think from a collection point of view, it's, what were you saying? It's like mini collections on your shelf.
Yes.
Yeah. And so being able to kind of have those, and so you could feasibly do a Python Patrol Tiger Force diorama on your shelf. You could do one that is just a Cobra Island one so that these characters are interacting. But it's super feasible to also mix and match them. So I think that that's kind of the beautiful part about the programs. They work really well, just with their little baby programs, but they also work really well with the overall line. Yeah. I would personally love to just have a giant shelf full of Python Patrol Vipers and Bats. That sounds amazing to me. Yeah. I think that would be super cool.
It's interesting too, because if we're looking at G.I. Joe from 82 to 2012 2012, and it kind of dwindled from Hasbro. There's a lot of figures to pull from, and what goes in mainline and then what goes into exclusive programs. And it's some of those sub teams are 5 characters. Does that get a program or does it go into mainline? So it's it's mixing and matching, and it's business needs, it's cost issues, it's a lot of things. It's like John said, it's the art of design and marketing where it gets a little, it's more mana-based than logic-based at times.
Yeah.
And necromancers, by the way, control, I want to set this for the record so it's in the comments, necromancers control inanimate objects or dead things. So an action figure, technically, Corey could be a necromancer.
That was, I think, the best comment of, and so we do go back, just so that everybody knows, we do go back and read all of the comments that come out of events that we do, and we want to see, what people are interacting, or what your feelings are, what character selections you're putting out when we ask questions. We genuinely want to know the answers that are typed in the chat. So we go back and look, and that was hands down my favorite one. That, or it was that the Fiona comes with a free Crocmaster figure. That was also one of my favorite comments. And Fiona Applegator. That was a nice one. Those were my top 3. Yeah.
Sorry to segue into that.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm an E&D dork, so I was I know what a necromancer is.
I'm also sorry that you had to read the comments as well. Oof. That sometimes can probably get rough.
I've had to chill because you guys know, it's the
internet. Yeah.
And we're the ones writing those horrible comments, so.
I think for the most part, people seemed like they were really pleased with the line and pleased with the figures and the character selections.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to get that. It's not like we only do what we do for the positive reinforcement from fans, but it doesn't hurt when we get positive reinforcement from fans.
And negative reinforcement too. You're ooh.
Yeah, that helps course correct.
Yeah, maybe not that again. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
My second question is also kind of a compliment as well. I was on with you guys about this time last year, and almost every question that we were asking you was about distribution problems. And it has not been a problem since you guys told us on that first call, we're fixing it. Don't worry about it. If you want these figures, you'll be able to get them. And that has been the case. I just got barbecue literally 2 seconds before we went to the call. But with everything that's still going on in the world, has it been a little bit hard to see the excitement surrounding the line and it dovetailing into this weird, I want these figures, but I can't have these figures, and it kind of ebbing and flowing, excitement when the announcements are made and then vitriol when they can't find them on the shelf? for a little while, and now they're everywhere and everybody can get them. What's it been like dealing with all that?
Yeah, I think that it's really hard. And, realistically, G.I. Joe relaunched as a brand very recently. So as the classified series iteration of the brand, we are still very new. And to be quite frank, we did not know what the appetite would be for classified series when it launched. Like, would this be this new scale for G.I. Joe fans? Would this be something that people would respond positively to? And it turns out that answer is an overwhelming yes. But, with that, it took us a little while to kind of course correct on just how popular this line was going to be. But I think that I feel like we are at a very good point in the line where we have figured out like what kind of quantities we need to be manufacturing to make sure that fans are happy, that retailers are able to get enough to actually have product on shelf. I know that there was a long time where when you would walk into stores, regardless of what store you went to, the G.I. Joe pegs on the shelf were empty, no product at all. And that it's too bad that the world is in the middle of all of the things that are happening right now with the global supply chain issues and the pandemic that's still raging and all of these things. And so we're trying our very, very best to get figures into your hands as soon as possible. One of the things that I know that we've mentioned, I think the Star Wars team has mentioned, is that we really want the pre-order experience to be positive for fans. And so to us, what that means is that if we open up pre-orders for you, you should not be being able to go to brick and mortar stores and find them on shelves before like your pre-order is fulfilled. So to us, that's really important. We want you to have a good experience. And so what that means is we run into situations like with the mainline Bat and the Alley Viper, where we didn't open pre-orders for them specifically because we want you to have that good experience. And so as those figures kind of slowly start to roll out, I mentioned on His Tank the other day that it would be retailers kind of get to choose how they're doing their own rollout. So some may open up pre-orders, some may just put things in brick and mortar, some may wait until they actually have them in hand and just put them up online, but that we promise that figures are coming and that it is an absolute priority to us that this process is as unfrustrating, is that a word? Unfrustrating for you as humanly possible, because we're making these figures for you, for the fans, and if you can't get them and if you're upset about them, like, we don't want that to happen. And so I think that it's working well. And with Target pre-orders, there were pre-orders for, I think, the Cobra Viper or the Bat stayed up for like 24 hours after PulseCon, because they have upped their pre-order quantity so much in response to all of the passion from the fans. And so we think that we're kind of on a good path at this point.
Yeah, I feel like it's like anything else.
Kudos, Emily, for going to His Tank and just going straight to the community with that candor. Because as you all know, some random got a Bats and an Alley Viper through Walmart through using a code name, and like the whole community is going crazy. And then you come on to His Tank and directly address the issue to try to minimize that fear of missing out that all the collectors share when something like that happens. So we appreciate that.
I think Emily's been doing an awesome job of managing expectations a little bit, because it's like we are a really strange environment, and we launched this new brand. I was afraid it was going to die because of the pandemic. I was like, oh no, everything's going to fall apart. We've been working on this for years.
Nobody can go to stores anymore.
Right. So I think you've done a really good job of we could have been like, the pre-order is going up at this time, but we don't know.
Yes.
So it's like, what, are we going to lie to everybody?
Yeah.
And then it's a mess. And then it's like just trying to be real about it, right? We can. Yeah. We should.
So, yeah.
Well, it's working.
Oh, yeah. Right? Exactly. And I mean, some of those Cobra Island pre-orders have gone back up on Target. Like, I was able, some of them are difficult for us to find too. So I think I just placed an order for a barbecue like a couple weeks ago, and it showed up at my house. I was like, wow, this is a fun surprise.
Yeah, and I'm not joking when on Instagram and stuff, I'll every once in a while leave a little comment on people's things. I really don't try to put work stuff up, but I'll be like, okay, I'll say. The other day I was like, I don't even have these figures in box. Yeah. I don't. I have FEPs with numbers across their heads. That's how bad the supply chain is. But we don't even have even have final we call PSP. We don't have those yet, just because we can't get them. We can only have our production samples that I will then Frankenstein to do other things with too. So that's how the environment is crazy right now.
And I'd also like to point out, somebody left a comment on the 1027 video about how I had so many of the Cobra Island Vipers behind me, and that's why nobody could find them because they were all sitting on my desk. And we have those for, so those are like all of the samples that we have that we can use for sample needs. If like something comes up for PR that we can use for photo shoots, you know, we love to be able to kind of mix and match waves for storytelling and photo shoots. And so those are the things that we can pull for those things. So I promise that I'm not hoarding all of the G.I. Joe figures in the universe. Although I do have a couple boxes of Prophet Director Destros hiding under my desk. But I think he was still available on Pulse, either now or until very recently. So I feel less bad about that one. Okay, perfect. Zero guilt.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. Fiona. That's nice. Yeah.
Over to Brett with graphic policy.
Hey, you. So my question is, so one of the things that stood out to me about the presentation was when Spirit was revealed and how much like clear thought was going into updating the character and the background and all that. For as you go back and decide on like what you want to bring back and update, like how are you actually deciding and recognizing like what needs to be updated? Like the prime example in that was there was a comment about making him a sniper instead of a tracker, and when it was said, it was like, oh yeah, no, that totally makes sense. But like until that was said, it's not even something that would click for me. So I'm just kind of interested in knowing like what your process is, kind of going through that and thinking through all that.
So on all classified figures, part of my job is to research and refresh my memory on the character's specific abilities. And as you guys all know,
for the noise.
What they're trained in, what they do, the kind of like what military background they have or what non-military background they have. So when we try to pick accessories and or like on the beachhead with his beret, like that's a beret on his vest. That's why he has a beret. But in the case of Spirit, well, I got to say, Spirit is one of my favorite characters. Spirit and Zartan, they're the jam, right? So it was very important for us because that is a community that has faced a lot of problems, right? From the country at large. And it's like multiple communities within a community. So we wanted to make sure that we got his backstory correct, and we wanted to adjust some things that were done back in the day that needed to be adjusted. And a lot of that was actually thanks to YouTube. I did a lot of YouTube video watching to see what fans had commented on that maybe have needed a bit of an update, right? And then same thing with Indigenous communities, like watching YouTube videos on Indigenous communities and what is important to those communities, just like with any other character that has kind of like a heavy cultural background to them, or like even if I did a character a character from Taiwan and he had like a lot of influences from their country, we would do research on that. And that's what's so cool about G.I. Joe. Like my dork hat goes on, and it's like, let's go in to become history buff of what this character is. Hence the chevrons being flip-flopped on him, things like that needed to be updated. And what a pleasure it was to work on him. And I got to say, when we talked with Taboo and he was telling, I got goosebumps a little bit because I really did. It was so like very important to me that we got him right because he is one of my favorite characters. But I do know that there's some sensitivity points that needed to be addressed. So we went in and we worked with our D&I team. It's our diversity inclusion group to like run it through. Like all these designs, a lot of times, like it's not just me. Like I do design them and then other people look at them, they rip me apart and then I go design them again. And then we do it again, and then we do it again, and then we do it again. It's kind of, you guys have seen a lot of production design videos on movies and comic books and stuff. It's a bit kind of similar. So long story short, extremely important. Long story short, we did a lot of research to see what was important, and actually working with Taboo, changing his backstory to make him Navajo. He's and changing where he's from and things like that, and picking an actual nation. And then we were able to pinpoint that and run with that. So,
and I think it also like saying, now he is Navajo. Now all of the elements about him say Navajo. He is no longer a hodgepodge of different Native
Yeah.
American identities, he is a Navajo character. And I know we saw a couple of comments asking his broadcloth. Is that what it was?
It's actually it was an Apache, I believe, war apron, which that was one of the first things we were like, he's not Apache. He never was Apache. Why does he have a war apron? And that was one of the things that we looked at. And I apologize if I'm misquoting things or anything like that, but that was one of the things we looked at. And it was like, well, he wouldn't have it. So that's why it's one of the things that was removed.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. That's like a detail I wouldn't even thought of. So to hear that is pretty awesome.
Yeah. We looked at Navajo culture too. And like, what could we add that's Navajo?
Yeah.
To it?
And I think that having taboo as, so taboo, for those of you who don't know, founding member of the Black Eyed Peas, but also like a really great kind of representative of the Indigenous community, and is part of, like, it makes him really happy to be able to help kind of, what's the phrase that I'm looking for? Make sure that spirit isn't an offensive stereotype. That's the phrase. So being able to really bring him into the modern era and make him a character and a figure that the Native American community can be really proud of was really important to him and really important to us. So I'm really glad that we have gotten to work together on that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So for this second question, you've talked a bit about like updating the Sky Striker, and then you've also gone back during the presentation, talked about Zartan and updating the color changing aspect for that, which was a really cool update. And you said how the tech has changed in the 40 years since this came out. Has there been anything you've gone and you've wanted to update and you just were like, we actually can't do it today? Like we really, we either technically can't do it or just
technologically, you mean?
Doesn't work. Yeah, something just doesn't work now that we can't update.
While Lenny's noodling, I will say on color changing Zartan, it brings me great joy that people are saying that he has been so cold in the delivery truck that he shows up already blue. And once he's in their house, he starts to
warms up.
Regular skin color.
That's amazing.
It brought me a lot of happess.
It's funny with that too. It's like we were trying to figure out but somebody had thrown out, make it heat because of the sun. And they were like, you'll melt the plastic. So that's why we're like, no, you got to go cold. But I'm trying to think, this is a little tidbit. There's a lot of stuff we're still building the line. That's the first kind of like, again, from my prior life on Transformers, I did a lot of kid stuff and it's generation stuff. But like from a feature standpoint, we are not really deep into the features yet. So that's our first like big feature on an action figure, collector action figure world. But from a design standpoint, we were going to change the Cobra logo. But
really?
Well, we weren't. But design and graphics was like, we were going to burn the building down if we did. Because it is a perfect logo. But I think this kind of pertains to that, right? Where we look at things and we're like, this is perfect. Why would you change it? There is no stylistic or fashion need to adjust this. And that's where you'll see some of the design languages change or be adjusted or update or something like that. Because a lot of times on Classified, you'll notice seams and textures. I do that to like hide where a strap is going or hide a shelf in articulation. And that's the really cool part about this line is it's like, oh, well, if we put a holster here and put this here, we can actually hide the thigh swivel. And then for photos, you don't have any thigh swivel breaks on your figure and it looks dope. So it's kind of the really fun part about working on G.I. Joe, where it's like we are adjusting for that. I think that kind of connects to technology.
Is thigh swivel the technical term?
Yeah, it's a thigh swivel. That's what we call it internally. Yeah.
I guess I've never paid attention to the thigh swivel joint before.
But I think not as good as your technical term for tush pockets, Emily.
Also, Spirit has tush pockets too. I just noticed while we were talking.
Yeah, he's in fatigues.
100% the technical term.
I'm using that from now on, by the way.
Oh, please. And I dropped some gems when I was on Power Rangers too. I referred, the A Squad Power Rangers armor had these like really kind of, it almost looked like when you go to play laser tag, like the cool laser tag vest that you get to have on. And so there were these big shoulders. And I think it was one of it wasn't them. It was an earlier live stream. Anyway, I definitely referred to somebody as having shoulder pads in a Power Rangers live stream and was like, and it was King Sphinx. He had these like really posable ankles. I was like, and he has such pretty ballet feet. I was just like, oh my God, these people are going to hate me.
I mean, at the end of the day, like we're serious about the characters, the backstories, but at the same time, we make toy products.
Yeah, we make toys. We have fun.
We're a little whimsical about things.
Whimsical
should
tush
be fun.
Tush pockets.
Yeah, tush pockets.
But I think the technology points too. It's like a lot of our technology issues are with tolerances and plastics and, working things out. Like this figure will stand with freedom on him. Like if I pose him out and spend some time to make it work. But like actually getting the tolerances to work to get this to go in there and stuff like that, where back in the day, they probably would have made they would have made freedom out of polypropylene, and you wouldn't have been able to do swappable wings and stuff like that. And don't quote me on the plastics. Chris will yell at me. But I think it's a lot for us. It's mastering of the craft itself, and then what can we add to the craft, like you see with the Zartan. And I actually have samples of the color change with photochromic. It's crazy. It's crazy to watch it work. But when we did testing, Chris wasn't lying. It literally would last 4 times, and then you'd be done. And we couldn't release that to you guys. That would be.
You would be sad.
Yeah.
No one would be happy.
Yeah.
I will say, to finish up really quick, what you released was amazing. It kept my 3-year-old daughter busy for an hour just going back and forth between the freezer.
That's what it's all about. That's awesome.
I loved
blew her mind.
Jay said at Backyard Battles, when you see the Zartan in the freezer, like next to all of his frozen food, I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is exactly what everybody is going to be doing with their figures, and I love it.
I want some pizza.
Yeah.
I need the pizza in there.
And now, a word from our sponsors. And now, back to the show.
Cool. Handing it over to Scott with Toy Wizards.
Great to see you guys again. Of course, Emily, I know you from the Power Rangers side, as I'm Power Ranger, eccentric as well. As G.I. Joe.
Morphicons, just like a little,
Are you going to come to Morphicon next year?
Yeah, I would totally come to Morphicon next year. When's it happening?
It's in August.
Yeah, that sounds like so much fun. Yeah.
I go?
Yeah, sure. Come along. It'll be fun.
I did of course, G.I. Joe. This G.I. Joe line has just been fantastic. Wave after wave just keeps getting better and better. And part of that, I believe, is just the design aesthetic has definitely taken a turn to be more realistic and also a nod to the vintage. And I think that's really, really impressed upon the fans on how the line is going. And I just want another affirmation from you that is the plan, and that going forward, we're going to keep getting this darker nod to the original lines.
Yes.
Good answer.
It's funny. You said, so it's funny, like looking at the old school toys, and you're like, all right, so Lady J's and the greens and the black hat. And then like match, if I was to go in there and take my Pantone book and drop the Pantone book on top of the 3 3/4 inch Lady J and then spec Lady J into that color, when you see it at a larger scale, it doesn't work. And there's something about it. And I think G.I. Joe has a grittiness to it. And I think that it needs to have a bit of that, but at the same time, it's still approachable. It's not like Scary World. It's like these are everyday people going above and beyond, but it has to have a little bit of grit. And it's funny. I was talking to him like, I'm not making toys. I'm making heroes or something. I had like a little like designer tangent. I wasn't mad. I was just like, I'm not trying to make a toy. I'm trying to make something dope.
Sounds like a baby designer tantrum.
And it basically, it's like even my color spec, like I've been finding like, oh, when I think it's a color, it's actually 2 colors darker because the way it works with the plastic, because we really are trying to make miniatures in a weird way, right? We're trying to make miniature heroes. And I think that goes across all of our 6-inch lines. All of the designers are kind of like, that's our aspiration. And it's fun to do. And on Joe, it's fun to do too, because Hasbro, we own it outright. So we can kind of take those liberties and like see.
A lot of flexibility.
A lot of flexibility to pay attention. And like Emily and I can read directly what's on that board and go, oh, okay, 100 people are saying that. Maybe I made a mistake. Or maybe, we're doing that right. So, I think I went on a tangent a little bit. I apologize. But, yes.
I'll be really succinct about it.
I totally understand, because I do paint masters for toy companies. I've done G.I. Joe paint masters on some of the 50th anniversary figures.
Oh, sweet.
And definitely getting stuff toned where it's dark, but not too dark, but not comically light.
Yes.
And finding that balance within your plastic, because it doesn't matter how I paint it or what you call out a Pantone, what the plastic looks like always changes from what we think.
Oh, I torture the guys with this. Because like what happens is we spec a color. Then what happens is the paint master gets created, as you know, and then it goes to the factory. Factory then iterates those colors into the plastic. Depending on how it is mixed, depending on the colorant that is used, depending on like the colors on screen right now are completely different than what it would be in real life.
That bugs me when people call out a screen color. I'm like, don't call me out a screen color.
No, it doesn't matter.
Book.
What really matters is in hand. And it's funny, I've been learning that I got to wait for a really sunny day to spec a color. Like, I'm not messing with this in this neon light, like, because the real color is the sunlight. So at the end of the day, like, we'll change a color when our engineering pilots come in because we have to. It's got to be right.
Yeah.
So
it really has paid off. The figures are great. Of course, like you, Zartan and Spirit are two of my favorite figures, and they both just look fantastic. They really are magnificent figures.
I really appreciate that.
Pulse exclusive Zartan Master of Disguise is probably the best G.I. Joe figure out now. Ooh. And I have to keep saying that because you guys keep raising that bar figure after figure after figure. But the color call outs on Zartan to make them that comic book Zartan really work. The color change is fun. I opened up mine, and of course he was like blue in the box. And then he did come back to normal. So he defrosted and came back to life.
I really wanted to, in our panel for PulseCon, I wanted to have like a bowl full of ice water and just like dunk the entire figure in live and watch him turn blue. But we had the sweetest, our like Ron, who was like managing us during PulseCon. And I think Ron would have had a heart attack if I like had a giant bowl of water and I was just like, and here it is. It was like dripping everywhere. So we decided to be nice to Ron.
Yeah. But thank you for the comments, man.
Yeah, thank you.
A lot of my other questions have been answered as I'm last on the group here, so I get to kind of like, I can't ask any of those questions now. Something, Emily, that you brought up was a multi-pack. Is that something we can get in the future for these army building? Because much like Star Wars, multi-packs and army building are something that we need so much. The fans really, really need to have 100 Vipers behind them for no apparent reason. I just got to have.
I would appreciate that because they get to make more.
However many you have, Emily, we all need to have more than you.
Right.
In our personal collection.
Okay, I understand, and we totally know the love of army builders, and rest assured, we have some very cool things in the pipeline that we think that everybody will be really excited about when it comes to troop building.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's dope.
I feel like that's so within, all our timelines are a little off.
Yeah.
Soon-ish.
We hear you.
We hear you.
Okay.
Soon-ish. There will be some cool things.
That's what people need so they don't just panic like, but I only got 24 Cobra troopers and I don't have enough officers for that. Like, don't worry. We'll keep getting troop builders. And we'll keep being able to build these armies. I mean, looking at the way these figures are coming out, where Joes are actually outnumbered now by Cobra quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. They are. Yeah, I feel like the troop builders really kind of lean into that too. Because on the Joes, the way that I kind of talk about it when I'm talking to our sales teams is, all of our figures really fall into 3 buckets. So you have your Joes, who are all named characters. Then you have your named Cobras, and then you have your troop building Cobras. Correct. And when I try to explain in terms of like sales forecasting, it's, most people will get probably 1 or 2 of the named figures, but who knows how many of the troop builders they'll buy, just because you really can have, 24 Cobra Vipers on your shelf and it'll look super cool. So I
24 is such a low number for a shelf.
So low. So 50 if you could get those. But I think that we're really taking that into account when we're doing like further line planning of products. Our sales teams are taking that into account when they're ordering things to make sure that there's enough of the quantities to go around. We know that the troop builders are being bought in multiples, and so we're really trying to take that into account for fans.
That's really great. Obviously, alley vipers and bats are starting to show up, and people are really excited. Yeah.
They're so cool.
That is such a fantastic figure. It was a figure, when it came out, people immediately hated it, and then it became one of the second most loved figures next to bats.
I loved it when it first came out.
Same, right out the gate, man.
Well, it's actually the beautiful thing about G.I. Joe.
Oh, look at that bat.
So generational, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple of guys that work there a bit older than me, and they're like, "What figure is it doing?" And I'm like, I took the alley viper everywhere I went. And then like other guys are like, "Why aren't you doing this one?" I'm like, "We're gonna relax.
Just calm down.
We're gonna get there." And that's the beauty of being at a company that owns the brand too. It's like everybody knows it, and everybody loves it, and everybody beats me up.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I think again, it's so generational that it's like, again, I mentioned it earlier. It's like you can't just do the first 12 to start.
Yeah.
Because they're alienating a bunch of other people. Think about the kids who grew up with like Renegades and stuff like that. Like they love G.I. Joe too. That Cobra Commander was
Sergeant
dope.
Savage. Sergeant Savage.
Yeah, the Claw. We got to do.
The Claw is a great bad guy. Really is.
Yes. What's that?
What are the ponytail figures that Ninja Force?
Oh,
in the
you
90s?
like Zanzibar?
The like the neon pink guy
Oh,
with the blonde ponytail. I don't remember his name. I almost bought him. He was in like the 90s. There was a Scarlet in that line.
Bonsai?
Yeah.
Yes. Talk about a really practical figure for going out and fighting crime.
I'm not sure if I have a root hair, but
oh god, no, that sounds like a terrible, terrible life choice. But like to be able to wear like bright pink pants, like there's just something like so good. So good.
I mean, I rock.
Yeah. Well, now you know what my preference is for figures. So like bring on the 90s neon. Yeah.
But for me to close up, again, thank you guys so much for the work you put on the line. The dedication, Lenny, really shows in the product. Despite fan outrage about every single thing you do, you are doing great work, and we really do appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. And it's really, really cool that you guys are, taking people's feedback and recommendations for different characters that they want to see in the line. I just think it's amazing that you're reading the comments.
People that have to be me.
He's referring to Lightfoot, Lenny,
Rose
just in case you need any information there. Lightfoot.
Lightfoot and Ice Cream Soldier.
Right.
Did you say Ice Cream Soldier?
Yeah, we're not going to get into it right now.
Okay. I have a lot of questions.
We're not going to make them. You're good.
Full disclosure, so I am still learning about the G.I. Joe universe. There's so many years of heritage. So Lenny has been so wonderful about pointing me towards things to get to learn about. If any of you have suggestions for episodes I should be watching, comics I should be reading, like what are your favorite pieces of the G.I. Joe universe that you can point me towards, I would really appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah, read all the comics.
Should we do that now or follow up?
Yeah, sure. Or wherever. Do you guys all know my His Tank name at this point? Like, you can just write me on there.
Done. Sweet.
Send me an email, whatever you'd like to do. I'd love recommendations.
We've been lucky over the years to get quite a bit of really good world building. I would say Max Brooks' Hearts and Minds is amazing, and Christos Gage and Anthony Costa's Cobra series is phenomenal. Obviously, the Larry Hama books, you just have to read all those. Yeah, there's plenty for you to dig in on.
That's only like 35 years worth of comics, right, to read?
It's less than 300 books, unless you count special missions, and then it's over 300 books.
It's a weekend.
There's a lot of, there can be dialogue at times, but it's all really well written too. That's a great. G.I. Joe's a very unsung hero when it comes to the comic book world, if you ask me.
Cool.
Rad.
We do like comics.
The cool thing, 40th anniversary of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, obviously, is next year, 2022. And hopefully Larry Hama's book will hit number 300 to be the cap on the back of that in December. If any of the books get pushed much more, we might not hit 300 in 2022, but that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And we do have, I know that we didn't touch on it a lot during PulseCon, but we will be celebrating the 40th anniversary next year. We've got some really cool things planned. So stay tuned to learn more about those in the next year, which it's crazy. Somebody mentioned a date the other day and they were like, oh yeah, this happened in, 2020. I was like, that was so long ago. Like, is it? Was it really that long ago?
We've been locked up for 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Time has no meaning anymore. So.
And you should be able to get through those comics in no time then. It'd be easy.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it'll be great.
Can I ask one question about the Python Viper quickly before we go?
Sure.
Does it come with the scarf or not? Because I haven't seen any pictures with the scarf yet.
I had a brain fart and I thought it did for a second, but it did not.
So we ended up having, as with all figures and all toy lines, it's kind of a give and take with some things. And so it was the bat only comes with one head. The Python Patrol bat only comes with one head and one chest piece. And the Viper doesn't come with its scarf.
Correct. Yeah.
Doesn't come with the scarf that the main line does. And I mean, we like to give a little bit of difference between the main line and the exclusives, but the deco differences between the Python Patrol line, those excluding those small items allowed us to really get the quality of deco that we wanted on those figures that we thought that you would really appreciate.
Sure.
So consider it like those are fun bonus mainline items. And then there's also encouragement to buy the exclusive Python Patrol versions for the super dope deco.
Yeah, I think it's the way to think about it is like, I'm going to say it in such a Halloween way. Like, I have 100 jelly beans that I can use. On the Python Patrol Viper, I exceeded my 100 jelly beans.
So we had to.
So some things have to get cut. And the same thing is to be said for the bats as well. It's like, well, if it's going to be Python Patrol, it needs things. And what does it not need?
Yeah.
It needs everything. Me, but I work for a corporation and we have to do a certain.
And sometimes if it needs everything, it doesn't fit in the box, and we have to make the box bigger. It's a lot. It's a lot.
That's the work part.
Yeah.
I wanted to sneak in one more thing about O-rings. So Lenny, I love your point about staying, faithful to the designs of 40 years ago, but still modifying to make them improvements based on the technology of today. One of the kind of consistent complaints about ARAH sculpts is that sometimes the heads didn't have as much detail, the faces didn't have as much expression as some of the later heads, and people see that when they look at an ARAH. They're like, I love them, but the faces could use a little more detail. There's been a gentleman on Facebook, Derek Roush, that has been doing cartoon remakes of the ARAH O-ring figures.
Oh, wow.
And these have cartoon-inspired head sculpts. These are ball joint and they are swappable. These are normal 1982 to 1994 ARAH figures, just with new sculpts for the heads. And these are cartoon accurate, so you get a more serious Duke. You get Lady J with the hat off with her hair messed up, which I love. You get the Snake Eyes with the 3 visor slits and then the 2 kind of like nose things. So anyway, I thought these were brilliant. And I wanted to just throw this out there as a possibility with your O-ring figures going forward that are 95% faithful. Perhaps you could throw in a alternate head like Jinx with her headscarf off, because in the movie, for example, Jinx, you saw her face 90% of the time she was on camera. So those types of things that are nods that give us alternate heads, Lady J with a hat and without a hat. You already did that for Classified, and I love that you did that for Classified. You could do the same thing for O-ring Lady J, for example.
It's interesting. It depends on the play, right? Because we talked about that. Like that was when we were deciding to do O-ring. It's like, okay, how much do we keep? How much do we not? And I think part of our design philosophy on O-ring is like, a lot of us had these figures, but a lot of us didn't hold on to them. So it's like, how do we get these back into people's hands? So the idea was like, let's recreate them pretty verbatim. However, that doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement as the line expands, just like they did back in the day throughout the 20-year span of 3/4 line. So I think there is room for that. I just want to be mindful of the community and what the expectations are. Because I, for one, am a designer and I love updates. I love adjusting things. I love more functionality. But I got to be cognizant of the community at large. So, yes, that's awesome.
It'd be like a bonus. You know, I think you still would need the original faithful design, but like a bonus head that adds something. You know?
Yeah, I think there's probably room for it, but we just got to. They're brand new right now. Nobody has them yet, right? So it's kind of like, I'm curious. It's just like with the first wave of Classified, like a sponge. I took those comments and you know, we learned, and I think the same thing will happen again. And then we'll find some improvements. Like we're already doing improvements like the C grips. Like Chris and I are talking right now. It's like, oh, maybe if the C grip was more like complete C grip, we'll have better holding of weapons and stuff like that. So definitely yes. And from a design aesthetic standpoint, I want to see where people's heads are at. And I think when we'll start seeing evolution, because I feel like got to be careful to be so nostalgic and so true, because sometimes things get stale.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you can tell the same story. Then people start going like, all right. Yeah. It'd be cool to see some of the other movie characters done in O-Ring too. I would love to see that.
Big Lob, Pythona. Let's do it. Let's do it. Because the Big Lob that we got is just using Mercer's head sculpt, and I can't help but see Mercer in blackface, and that's not acceptable for Big Lob. We need a real Big Lob that looks like the movie character.
And I think it's just, again, that's like Emily said earlier, G.I. Joe's brand new again.
Yeah.
So it's got to build it up.
Yep.
2022 is going to be huge. You guys are killing it right now, man.
Hopefully.
We're trying.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much. Really appreciate what you're doing.
And any additional questions? We have a little time if anyone did have one more question.
I have 25 more questions.
Right? We should just go one at a time. Give everybody a chance.
I'm good.
Cool. I think we covered a lot today, so this is great. If anyone does have any follow-up questions, feel free to email me or Lawrence, and we'll happily run them by the team.
We're also, Joe, we're literally going to just go dig in the archives in 20 minutes. So if anybody has
we do have a little bit of time.
we have some time if anybody has anything else.
Okay. So since Chris and I have already asked a bonus question, why don't we give everybody else a chance? And if you guys pass on that, Chris and I know have other questions.
I would just like to ask about more deluxe figures. Now that we have deluxe figures with vehicles and deluxe figures with animals, do we have the ability to get deluxe figures with other stuff? I really like the deluxe figure box that we're doing with Power Rangers, and now we're doing with G.I. Joe. A figure with some extra accessories, a little bit higher price point, but well worth the value. Are we going to see more down that line?
Maybe with us going,
your poker face is horrible, Emily.
I know, it's really bad. We also love being able to do figures that come with more things, that it really kind of leans into that storytelling world. So I'm going to say maybe with and then tell you how much I love the Parantis head figure that Power Rangers just premiered.
That's so nice.
The Parantis head I have one sitting on my desk because I was still on the team when we were doing the development for it. And it is so cool. His little fish nunchuck situation. There's something about a brand that really rocks its kaiju origins, and the monsters that you get on Power Rangers are just friggin' out of this world. Why would you have a pumpkin monster that speaks only in rap one-liners?
It was 1992.
It's beautiful, and I feel like it works so well for them. So I'm so impressed with the team and everything that they've put together. Not to direct away from G.I. Joe, but give a little love.
Lenny, these figures would look really good with snake armor.
Yes. Piggyback on that, the Build-A-Figure concept with let's make it figures that we all want those. So what if we did a 5-figure set of just the Dreadnoks? But you had an arm, leg, and torso for the snake, and you got all your Dreadnoks, and you got a snake all in one 5-figure set. Just a thought.
From a design standpoint, I believe in full playability out of the box. I want things to be you get them, play. And with a G.I. Joe, and it comes from my background on Transformers again, I was on a lot of kid stuff, and it's I want to create a world of play for a kid, collector, whoever you are. And I think that's what's beautiful about G.I. Joe, between the vehicles, the bivouacs, stuff like that, the weapon upgrade sets and stuff like that, the snake armor. So it's
snake armor is just such a classic.
It's so ridiculous. It's so good. And I've been playing Fallout like crazy, so I've been wearing all my power armors. I can't get a white power armor. But I think that being said, I think there's definitely room. It's just a matter of the business opportunity and where it fits and how we can do it, because I am handling this line as if I'm creating a world again. And it's such a privilege and an awesome opportunity. So hell yeah, we want to make crazy stuff.
A snake armor would be a great deluxe box set. So would a pack rat set, stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're probably in the same mindset as you guys. It's just a matter of how and when and resource, right? And like we said with the vintage figures, it's what do we put where am I putting my jelly beans, right? So that all plays an account, and it's going to take time.
I guess I have a comment and a question. Comment first. it's awesome that you guys made all of the box artwork available as posters. Is there plans to maybe do like an art book that could, also dovetail into, like Lenny was saying, maybe like some novel type stuff where we learn more about the classified series and the world that they live in? And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was the other part was just about the O-ring figures. Never mind.
So to answer the stuff about the artist series, I love the artist series, and I feel like it is such a wonderful way to set G.I. Joe apart from some of the other brands at Hasbro. We have this amazing kind of graphic design team that works to really find artists. And so our artists are this really cool combination of artists that kind of reach out to us because they are G.I. Joe fans and they're like, I really want to be involved in this.
It's wild.
And artists that really we seek out because we like their art style, and that we are trying really hard to make sure that our artists are a representation of our line, which is at its core, G.I. Joe is a very diverse group of people either coming together for good or for evil to get stuff done. And that we want kind of the artist to be a representation of that character universe. And so, we try hard to make sure that our artists are matches in terms of, what kind of style we think would work for characters, the places that the characters are from. We may try to find artists from there. For female figures, making sure that we have female artists, but really kind of coming together and bringing that kind of G.I. Joe diversity is really important to us.
Yes.
I know that there had been, I don't remember if it was a comment that came in from someone here or that I had seen somewhere else, but the commitment to diversity and inclusion to us in the line is really important. We want to make sure that we are putting forth, an accurate reflection of this very diverse group of people who come together. So you will continue, the line is already diverse. You will continue to see more of that in the future. In terms of artist series, I know that our franchise team has big plans for it in the future. I won't overstep and divulge what any of those may be, but safe to say that artist series is not going anywhere and that there will be many more things about it in the future. Cool. And our artists we've seen some of the artwork for the upcoming waves that we haven't gotten boxes for yet, and they look good.
It's dope.
Yeah.
How fast will when the box art comes in and the figures are released, how fast will you guys be releasing that artwork to purchase?
Oh, that's a good idea. I would assume it would be pretty close to pre-order time. I would say that, in my personal opinion, it would be artwork is fair game to purchase as soon as it's revealed on box. I would assume be the cadence.
We got to ask Amanda.
Yeah, we'll ask our franchise human for you.
I don't know. Yeah, I need the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very badly.
Because I think, following the PulseCon cadence, this was all available to purchase as soon as we revealed the pre-order. So I would think that would be up for.
I would imagine we would want to get it close to when you guys see it.
Oh yeah.
Help build the hype.
Yeah, it's so cool. And to be able to look at everything. And I loved working with Tom Whalen on Power Rangers and his Zartan artwork. For those of you who don't have your Master of Disguise Zartan in box yet, being able to can I see we have this whole conference table just full of products with a
so cool
note on the back that says "Don't show back" because it's just production labels, which is really funny.
So we can find leaks that way about
it.
Interesting.
So it's "Don't show back?" ? But being able to actually spin this and have
that's so cool
change is. And it's so cool, and I feel like Tom Whalen was the perfect artist for this box. And the Dreadnoughts logo on this is amazing.
I interviewed Tom the other day. He's going to be on the weekly on Friday as well. So yeah, he's amazing. Talk about that artwork in detail. It's stunning.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. And he's cool. And he's such a nerd. His office is full of figures. It's full of comic books. You can tell he is in it to win it. Yeah,
we're nerds, man, and I think it's really cool to be able to kind of fall into it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
being able to recreate and update, and then stay to the nostalgic. There's this level of artistry and business that's going on with G.I. Joe right now, which everybody in the team is super appreciative to be a part of. Cecil, our graphic, director on that stuff, he is in heaven because he gets to work with all these amazing people.
Yeah.
And, it brings a richness to the line, and we want to show, hopefully it's coming through to everybody.
Yeah.
It is.
And I think on the point that we're all nerds, it's so interesting. We're all nerds, but we're all like different kinds of nerds. So you'll find like things that we have in common, but it's so cool because everybody kind of brings their different background and interests into things. So like I'm sure that legal will be upset with me for saying this, but I'm on a DC Comics kick right now. And I've just discovered I missed comics for like a long time, evidently. So I just read like 10 years worth of Harley Quinn comics all at once. And I was like, wow. This is such a good use of my time.
It is.
It was a great use of my time. But it's so cool to kind of see influences come in and how that later gets interpreted into action figures that are associated with lines. And being able to see what other brands are doing and how they're interpreting that, I think is so cool. Like I am constantly, whenever I go to the store, I'm always walking up and down the toy aisles because I want to see what other brands are doing. Yep. Because I think if we don't know what's happening with other brands, we're like not in the loop on things. Yeah, and I think that's hard.
That's the fashion design of the business. And that's what G.I. Joe's always been. Yep. Right? Like if we would be doing a disservice to any of our brands to only pull reference from the brand internally. It's like, I think artists don't do that. It's like, so it's a combination of, right? So it's pretty fun.
And I think that those influences work their way into the brand in different ways as well, which I think is really nice. And we all come from all of these really interesting different backgrounds. Like my original job was I worked at a cat shelter, and then I went to business school, and now I market toys. Like that's so cool. But I mean, to have thought that I would ever, like my job would be to play with toys, like, okay, past Emily. Why don't you go scoop that cat box so that this cat can get adopted?
I've been loving watching Lenny play with the toys this whole conversation. It's like he's having so much fun right now.
Awesome.
I feel bad when I'm in meetings at my desk here. I have an eye guy that sits on my desk, and I'm like constantly futzing with him. I don't know if he's available on shelf yet. I feel like he probably is. Yeah. I mean, I know we revealed him. I just don't know if anybody else has him in hand. But he makes this like amazing kind of ratcheting noise when you're twisting his legs and his arms around, and I just cannot stop playing with him. He is the ultimate fidget toy for me, and he looks horrifying. So I mean that really helps. So I'll be on meetings with people who have not worked on Power Rangers before, and they'll be like, excuse me, what is that thing that you're playing with? And why is it triggering my, what's it called? Tryptophobia? The thing where you're afraid of all of the different circles next to each other. I feel really bad because occasionally people will be on meetings and be like, please put that thing away. It's horrifying me.
Hey, Lenny, I wanted to show you one more. This is O-Ring Scarlet, and she's got an articulate ponytail. So
what?
That's on a swivel kind of joint. So just to awake your imagination about maybe including alternate heads that are cartoon specific.
How dare you do that?
Planting the seeds.
My brain is now doing things.
She's so beautiful. Because let's be honest, the original Scarlet figure is not attractive. The card art was beautiful. The original figure, due to the mold limitations, the hair had to be tight to the head. It's not a good looking figure.
Yeah, so I think that, again, it's like when we get there, it's like, and that's part of the design process too. It's like, who do we do next? And it's like, well, this character is considered for updates. So maybe we should hold off. And I think that's where a lot of the other Joes that you haven't seen yet, it's like, I'm kind of considering them for updates. Like, I'm like, oh, we can do this to that. But then like I draw every single G.I. Joe input and I will do it like a year in advance. And then I'll go back to it. And I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, what was it doing? And I'm like, oh, that's too far. Oh, that's not far enough. So it's like, and that's the beauty of having the brand internal. Like we can do that. And I think we can stop and drink our coffee for a second and feel it out what needs to be updated. And I think that kind of thinking can be applied to the O-rings too. So now it's like, let's do the research. Again, I'm an artist at heart. That's a beautiful head sculpt. You just showed me. So I'm like, yeah. So it's like, and you can see with some like back in the day, there's Serrano running change, right? Like
yes, they sculpted her head 3 times.
Yep. And
the one with the earrings is one of the shortest production. We're working on pre-production at 3D Joe's right now. We just got a memo that showed the running change, and I haven't announced this to the community yet, there's only 50,000 of those mint on card Zoranas with earrings out there. And if you think back in 1986, they were making about 1 million of each figure. That's probably one of the single most rare carded figure specimens to get out there.
Basically, what you're saying, Lenny, is that you have to include all 3 head sculpts with Zorana when you do the figure, please.
That's it.
Right.
Well, it's interesting because it's like you go to ball joint on the head, and is that better for production? Maybe.
Right.
Maybe not. But then at the same time, are you alienating a group of people that want it to be, this should be a capsule in time? So it's like, again, these are those parts of design that are difficult where it's like,
or are you combating the shady parts of the community that will try to sell these as vintage? And since you've slightly updated them, they won't be as easy of a mark to sell as original.
Yeah, and I mean, they'll also have the updated date on their tush. So that'll be once you have them in hand, you'll be able to be like, excuse me. This is,
excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Look at the balance on that figure with no stand under it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can he be posed in the box like that?
Yeah. Super practical.
Oh, when I put it, boom.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Spirits even crazier.
Hey, Jeremy, I think there's some kind of legal law that doesn't allow them to hold weapons in their hands when they pose them. Is that accurate?
Interesting.
Emily, Lenny, do you know?
Rule, well, at least our internal rule is if they're holding weapons and we're taking pictures of them, the weapon should not be pointed at the camera. So they should be pointed off to the side. But I'm not, I don't.
What about packaging?
Oh, in pack.
In the package, could they be posed with the weapon?
It's depth of box.
It's depth of box. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a particular depth of box that we have to fill, and we can't vary from it.
Yeah.
So if we did that, we'd have to do,
and
the box would be like this deep.
So like there was a PulseCon exclusive Lord Drakon that we did that was in, it ended up being in this huge box, but like he was posed out in the box. And I mean, the box didn't technically need to be as big as it was. It just looks really sweet on shelf. But I mean, he takes up a lot more room because he is posed out with his stuff. So that is one of the complications for these guys.
It's
so
a great diorama box, the Drakon.
Yes. Yeah, he's a very cool figure. I love that he comes with the battle damaged Power Rangers helmets. I'm just like,
It's sweet. I'm not even a Power Rangers guy, and I was like, that guy's badass.
Yeah.
That's an experience opening. When that came
Sorry,
in.
we're like this conversation at this point. Like,
Yeah.
please fire off
Oh,
questions.
I think we have time for one last question. If Dave or Brett, you had one you want to sneak in before we wrap up?
I think we kind of went through everything. I was going to touch on just kind of the deluxe side as well when it comes to different animals. Talking about, of course, the other lines and the sneaking in of a Build-A-Figure. I know this line really is looking to build a story and kind of build an adventure. So I was wondering if there's any kind of accessories or anything that you're looking to add towards going into these new adventures, new missions, going forward.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like a life-size mass device. That sounds really practical. Like $9.99.
It'd be throughout like 3 years of building.
So one of the things that I really love are the old like accessory packs that were available for the O-Ring Joes that like got you the extra accessories. So I always thought that those were really cool and like a great way to be able to add to storytelling.
Well, yeah, that's why the figures are modular too.
Yeah.
Figures are extremely modular so that you can play. Like when I was a kid, I used to pull my Joes apart, put them back together, different loadouts, and that's what the John's line was too, where it's like that's something we've always kept true to the line. That's why GI Joes have a hole in their back. They're supposed to wear backpacks. Like, so I think that being said, like I think there's got to be a way that we can work that in for everybody so that they can do that. Like my biggest goal is to get kids playing with these things.
Yeah.
And I think they are. It says 4+ in the box, but at that being said, it's like you got to get things in there for everybody to play with, and like they still can. A kid's toy can still look badass.
Yeah,
like there's no reason why you shouldn't be sculpted to
look
the
at her
nines.
little teethies.
She's wonderful.
She's amazing. Everybody's gonna love Fiona. Her belly's squishy.
Another tidbit about Fiona: she started out at 16 inches long.
Good God!
Wow.
She didn't fit in the box.
Enormous, and she had like I said, the boxes are uniform. You have to go in the same box as the Timber and Snake Eyes. So we had to adjust her a little bit. Plus, that's kind of like epic dinosaur scale of crocodile. That's crocodile in our world.
She also comes with her tail is pre-bent so that she fits in the package.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a, on the accessory tip, there's a bit of a cottage industry that's popped up around providing us classified collectors with some of the vintage inspired accessories that were not included with the new classified versions. So like a mod deuce for Roadblock, for example, a backpack with the ammo pack that pops off of it and the tripod kind of thing. If you guys do accessory packs, I would love, honor, thank, and cherish you for thinking about including some of the ARAH style accessories.
Yeah.
Chris is showing off his Lightfoot classified 3D prints. Is that right?
Look at rad.
Yeah, that's really cool.
What, do you buy them online and print them out kind of deal?
A friend of mine actually just made this for me as a present. So beautiful. It's really, really cute. We made the mine detector drone as well.
Keep that friend around.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Joe too, and I think it's the thing that back in the day the designers were having fun with. Whereas like, what are cool things? Like, and that's something I like Zartan with the monkey paw. Like that's he made a deal with those are wishes.
Love it.
And monkey paw is like that's 2 wishes he has. There's 3 more left. So it's like the designers back in the day were doing fun stuff like that on the figures as well. So we would like to do that again going forward. So you'll see wacky things, and it's because there's design in everything, and it's like we're trying to like, what does a minesweeper drone look like today? What does I'm trying to say things without giving anything away. But what are cool things today, like DARPA robots and stuff like that? What does that look like in our line? To do verbatim things is fun. But then to do things that are pulled from our reality and our universe that we're all living in is really cool too. So then that's where that blend is happening. And I think that's what Spirit represents really well.
Yeah. And
it's like a mix.
And there have been so many technological advances since, the 1980s. And how do we incorporate those so that our designs can still have that kind of like cool Cobra futuristic vibe to them without people being like, yeah, but that like technology actually exists now. So that's not super exciting anymore.
Yes.
Oh, is that a fax machine that Cobra's using? Maybe we upgrade that.
Yeah, wrap it up everybody's taxes.
I don't know. A fax Viper sounds incredible.
Fax Viper.
I want Cobra admin. I want the entire team.
He sits in Raptor's office, right?
Extensive Enterprises. Done. Like, that'd be amazing.
I love that.
In little ties with little pocket protectors with their pens in their pockets.
We should just make Lynn into a GI.
Oh my God,
the greatest human in the world.
Our admins, Lynn and Tammy, are some of our favorite people ever. They are like the kindest. Anything that any of us need, but I was like, Lynn, Tammy, please help me. We're helpless little babies without them. They could be Cobras.
Yeah. And again, sorry for being so conversational with this.
No, it's great. We love it.
But we're here for it.
The Boston Dynamics robot dog. They have just mounted Gatling guns on that thing. So that is a war weapon now. We knew it was coming. Law and our Mutt and Junkyard was
that is
actually
such a
originally...
Jurassic Park thing to do, though, isn't it? Like, everyone knows it's a bad idea, but it's happening anyway.
Let me sneak this in here.
Yeah.
Seriously, Mutt and Junkyard was originally a Cobra concept. That's why he's got the grimace on his face and he's a ugly looking dude. He was originally Cobra. So what if you made a Cobra figure that's the Cobra guy with this canine, and instead of a dog, it's the robot dog from Boston Dynamics with guns mounted on it. So it's still like future tech kind of stuff, but harkening back to old designs.
I mean, are you ever going to use it in the future?
I don't know.
Then no.
No.
Well, I'm sorry.
I feel you.
I feel you. No, I know we can't discuss things that are upcoming. I'm just trying to plant seeds.
Well, it's not upcoming, but we do. Like I said, like I'm just always drawing jokes. Like my wife said, "Can you please stop?" Like we'll be watching a movie because I do everything on an iPad, and like she's like, "Can you please like I'm like, no, I'm coming up with figures." But we're always coming up with stuff like that, and I feel you. Like I'm a sci-fi nerd. My favorite movie now, it's always. I love that Dune was done right.
Dune's amazing.
Yeah, so it's like those influences, I want to make them fall into the line. But then again, we're also held by like what is right for G.I. Joe, what is hitting the nostalgic points, but what is pushing the line forward. So, we'll do it where we can and we'll have fun and we'll make sure that it's not taking away from something else that we need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you're late for the HasLab meeting.
Oh, crap.
We have the HasLab meeting. This has been so much fun. Thank you guys. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.